5 Live Boxing.
Welcome to 5 Live Boxing. Now, this weekend is unique in British boxing. It's not rare or odd, it's unique. 3 nights of fights, 4 televised shows, including a dozen or more fights. I speak to the main players, the main fighters, the dreamers, the men going for titles, the men trying to keep their reputations and their careers alive. Dillian Whyte, Jermaine Franklin, Eddie Hearn, Zach Parker and John Ryder all join me. What a weekend. I'm Steve Bunce and this is 5 Live Boxing. So welcome to the Royal Institute of British Architects. It is a phenomenal building, this, and we're in one of the gloriously ornate rooms. And the press conference has just come to a finish, and it started nice enough. There was Jermaine Franklin, the American, surrounded by his people, and there was Dillian Whyte, the boxer that fought for the world title in front of 95,000 at Wembley back in April against Tyson Fury. And it started off pleasantly, and slowly but surely it built. Dimitri Salita had his say. Dillian Whyte had his say. Jermaine Franklin had his say. Eddie Hearn was keeping it together. And then it got very lively. And then it got very tasty. And then there was a little bit of pushing, a little bit of shoving, all handled comfortably and easily by the security. But Dillian Whyte was extremely, well, maybe agitated is too strong a word, but he was definitely, without a doubt, fired up. So I'm joined here by the man who was in the middle of that, Eddie Hearn. Eddie, it's quite simple. Did you sense it was going to go that quickly and turn that fast?
Oh, I mean, Jermaine Franklin's done a good job of staying cool this build-up. He said a bit online, but
not much,
Jesse Addison did a good job. And I think Jesse Addison deliberately tried to rattle Dillian Whyte. And it took a while, but I think he got there in the end.
About 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah, and then, but it was Dimitri Salita, actually. I mean, Dimitri Salita, you forget that he was once a fighter.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy that if you've had a couple of pints outside a pub and he piped up, you'd fancy your chances. And then you'd get probably knocked out because he could fight, Dimitri Salita. And he just said during the head-to-head, look him in the eyes, Jermaine, tell him. And Dillian Whyte didn't like it. So Dillian Whyte reached forward and pushed Dimitri Salita out of the way. And Dimitri Salita said, you want to fight? Let's go. And I thought, wow, you're very brave. And then it all kicked off down on the front there. Nothing major. No one was touched or anything. But it's just good. You know, I think that it means a lot. And I think don't mistake Jermaine Franklin's quietness for his confidence or his team's confidence.
I think you're right there.
You know, he's a very good amateur, Golden Gloves champion. Been looking for this opportunity, as Jesse Addison said, for 10 years. And I think the main thing that Jesse Addison said was, you're a wounded lion. You've just been knocked out. And guess what? We're going to do it again. I think that was a deliberate plant in the mind of Dillian Whyte. I'm not sure it works with people like Dillian Whyte, but you know, I understand the tactics.
If there's ever a time when Dillian's going to be vulnerable, it would be in the aftermath of the Fury night, the Fury fight, and in the build-up to this fight. I must admit, I've seen Dillian a lot over the years, get angry, get agitated, but he certainly, I mean, I'll use the expression, he bit there, Eddie. He bit at the desk, and he bit when he came round the front, and he bit when I was talking to him.
Yeah, and I think that's what they wanted. But I like to see that because it shows he cares, and it shows the pressure that's on this fight. You know, people expect him to beat Jermaine Franklin, and he may well do so. But if he doesn't, his career as a top-level heavyweight may be over.
Yeah.
And, you know, new trainer in Buddy McGirt, coming off the knockout, whatever way you want to look at it, any fighter that comes back to fight at a high level after being knocked out, mentally, it's difficult for them. And it will be for Dillian Whyte. But I expect a good performance. I think he looks good, and I think he's ready to be violent in there on Saturday.
Which is what he's doing. In an ideal world, Eddie, and if you had more control over Dillian Whyte's career, would you bring him back with a more known quantity and perhaps a potentially easier fight, working on a theory that he's still got some big fights in him? Whereas if he gets beaten by Jermaine Franklin, that's a hard road back for any promoter.
But at the same time, you know, I think that if you believe you're good enough to mix it against AJ and against you know, Deontay Wilder and these names, you should be going through Jermaine Franklin. We know Franklin's got ability. There is a little bit of the unknown about how many levels can he go to. But also, you can't be afraid to fight someone like Jermaine Franklin. If you get beat by Jermaine Franklin, you aren't an elite heavyweight. But the only thing we don't know about Jermaine is how good he is, because he's never had the opportunity to fight at this level. We're going to find out on Saturday night. I worried whether he would crumble, Jermaine Franklin, under this pressure, under the crowd. But I'm not so sure. He seems pretty cool. And I think this is the opportunity. And I've said to him, you beat Dillian Whyte on Saturday, you're fighting Anthony Joshua, and you're making plenty of millions to do it. So what an opportunity for him to change his life.
That's a phenomenal incentive. And the reports from inside the gyms, without giving away too much, you've had the same reports as I've had from inside Tyson's gym and from inside Shane McGuigan's gym, where he did some rounds with Dubois. They're encouraging reports.
Yeah,
they're
and
decent
tough.
reports. Yeah,
and tough. I mean,
tough. That's the key word.
It is tough, because if he's not tough enough, he will get knocked out by Dillian Whyte. And he's been doing rounds with Daniel Dubois. Shane McGuigan said this is a tough.
They're good
kid.
rounds. Yeah.
Exactly. And Daniel Dubois is a big puncher.
Yeah.
So I think.
And he's a bad sparrer. You know what I mean by that. Yeah.
And I think if this fight, if this fight goes deep, it's going to be difficult for Dillian Whyte, because he's expected to get him out. And the dangerous part of this fight for Jermaine Franklin is the early rounds. When he's coming in, the bright lights are there. He's a little bit fresh. He's a little bit cold. He gets caught by that catch and counter left hook by Dillian Whyte. That can put anyone to sleep. And I think this fight, the longer it goes, the more it will suit Jermaine Franklin.
And the fans do love Dillian. I want to talk just briefly, Dillian, thanks for your time here, about the vacant British heavyweight title fight. Fabio Wardley, a kid that's got no right really to be here when you look at his background. He's got every right to be here because he's had a good series of wins against Nathan Gorman. All that GB pedigree and decent professional record to this point. I think this is one of the most intriguing British title fights I can remember for a long time. It's got something about it.
Yeah, but that's because you're old school, Bunsey, and I guess
Thank
I am
you.
now as well, where the British heavyweight title is one of the best titles
Still
to win in
means something,
boxing.
yeah.
You remember the fights of the past, and those. I mean, AJ's won the British heavyweight title. Bruno, Lewis, all these people, British heavyweight champions. Dillian Whyte's also won it. It's a really prestigious title, and I find this fight between Gorman and Wardley fascinating. And Gorman can't believe he's a 3-1 outsider, because he's saying, I've been boxing since I was 6. Yeah. You've only had 2 white collar fights. You've started fighting at 19. But Fabio's breezed through those levels and looked really dangerous. I actually think Fabio might be a slight outsider because of the pedigree of Gorman.
I'd agree with you and disagree with the bookies.
But at the same time, it's such wide odds that it doesn't really make sense either. But just a really good all-British heavyweight title fight, slightly below the level of Whyte and AJ, but doesn't mean they can't get there. And these are exactly the kind of fights that we should see more of.
And also, there are dozens of them around there. I mean, there are 8 or 9 fighters below that top 3 or 4. So you could do it. And you might actually deliver something that no one's delivered for 10 years. A successful British title defence. It's been 10 years since we've had one,
Wow.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah, but also it shows you that those fighters move quite quickly to bigger levels.
To something big, yeah.
Anthony Joshua, a good example. He won the British title. Next fight, he fought for the world heavyweight title.
It's a good bill, Ed.
It's a great card.
Yeah, it's good. Enjoy yourself on
Cheers,
Saturday.
Bunsey.
Thanks, boss. So that's Eddie Hearn talking to me on the stage after the conference. And as I said at the top of that, I did manage to grab hold of Dillian Whyte. I ran with him and his entourage inside a little bubble of security and his friends and his trainers and got him outside. Now, I have to warn you, there are an awful lot of beeps inside this. This is a very fired up Dillian Whyte for less than 48 hours before he fights unbeaten American Jermaine Franklin. Once again, I warn you, there are an awful lot of beeps in this interview. Dills, what happened there, Dills? What happened there?
Demetrius Salita talking man. I'm sick of these guys talking Let the fighters do the work. I'm sick of teams and cornermen talking these guys.
He's not been too bad, Jermaine, has he?
He ain't saying but he's got all his hangers on them guys.
And was it Demetrius Salita who upset you?
Yeah, Salita talk and his coach talk. These guys need to relax because, bro, this is boxing, but don't start talking wild man. Relax.
You've done it too many times, haven't you?
Yeah, Salita, man. Calm his other guys. Those guys.
You ready to fight, Dills?
Yeah, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready
That's
to
good. You're agitated, it's good.
No, I'm not agitated. I'm just good. I'm good.
It's a big fight, Dillian, this one. You're going to be calm enough on the night?
Yeah, I'm easy.
Honestly?
I'm a professional, man. I'm a professional. They think they're winding me up, but I'm not wound up. I'll show them that I'll smack folks that need smacking. That's it. If you need smacking, I'll smack you. I don't need to be angry to smack you. I'll smack the shit out of who needs smacking.
This has been a proper camp, an old school camp. As you say, you're talking about when you're in America, doing your own washing, doing your own cooking. You've not had any luxuries in this camp. This is the return to the old Dillian.
No, I just been, the old Dillian's never gone, but, obviously, it's just life, man. Sometimes stuff happen when you're a bit like, but whatever, but these need to understand that. Don't with me, man. I'm cool, but, it's a relax. Look at him.
They're leaving now, their gang.
Yeah, that's what they do. Sneak out like a little They like little rats.
Dillian, thanks for your time. See you Saturday night.
Cheers.
So that's a very fired up Dillian Whyte, calming down noticeably as I was talking to him. Now, you may have heard him leaning over the balcony here, the glorious balcony, and screaming down as Jermaine and his team left. Well, I was planning, hopefully, on grabbing hold of Jermaine, but fortunately, I managed to grab hold of him before it all happened, about an hour ago. And he was obviously a little bit calmer then, as were his team. And I grabbed hold of both him and Dimitri Salita, his promoter, a man in the centre of the pushing and shoving up on the stage and the accusations and the acrimonious stuff that was taking place. I started by asking Jermaine about the contrast in when I first talked to him about 5 weeks ago and now. It looks like, I said to him, you've got your fight head on.
Yeah, getting a little meaner as the fight comes.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
No.
So how was it with the big lad up in Morecambe? And was it as cold as I told you it would be?
No, it was cold. It was actually pretty good though. I had a nice little camp up there.
Good sessions?
Yeah.
He's a good guy to talk to, isn't he? Both on both sides of the ropes. He's a good man to be with.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's funny. He's funny. He likes to joke around a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, he's serious when it comes down to taking care of business.
And you need to be serious when it comes down to taking care of business this Saturday, because this is a golden opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always serious when it comes to business.
But this is the type of fight that can change a man's life. It can change the course of his life. A win can change the course of your life and your family's life.
Yeah, right. I mean, some too many people get lost in the aspects of what come from stuff. For looking in the future, you know, you got to take care of business to be able to look at the aspects. So
you can't look at that. To you, it's just first bell and we'll deal with it.
I'm just focused on working right now. Yeah.
And with Dillian, and I don't know if I asked you this before, I'll ask you again. Are you the kind of guy that has to study your opponents, or do you leave that for your team? How does that work?
I watch a lot of boxing myself, so way before we had this fight, I've been studied a lot of guys. So once we got the call for this fight, it was just, you know, doing some homework on something I had already studied. And
I also understand you spent some time with young Daniel Dubois. I say young, I mean, he always seems to be about 20. He's been 20 for 5 years in East London. How was that with Daniel?
It was good. We had a good couple sparring sessions. Sparred like 3 times. Yeah.
Now I'm just going to bring in your promoter, Dimitri Salita. Dimitri, with Jermaine, is it fair to say that people are maybe looking past him? That it's an unbeaten record, sure, but it's not full of massive names. And do you think that's a danger, Dimitri?
I definitely think that Dillian Whyte is looking past Jermaine Franklin. I've said for years that Jermaine is the best American heavyweight prospect, now contender. He's paid his dues. He beat some tough guys getting to this point. And I really believe that Dillian is overlooking Jermaine. And Jermaine has taken this fight very seriously, has been to training camp, boxing with the best, with Tyson Fury, with Daniel Dubois, with others, has been here in the UK for about 5 weeks.
That's good. I like that,
His
Dimitri.
trainer, Jesse Addison and Lorenzo, been here with him since day one. So it's a great team, and everybody's focused on scoring that big victory.
Jermaine, listen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So that's the main event covered. Dillian and Jermaine. 2 fighters, a lot to prove, a lot to gain, and I've got to tell you, an awful lot to lose. But it's a busy, busy weekend at Wembley, a massively busy weekend. So I've walked back inside now, and one of the fights on the undercard, in fact, a fight that everybody seems to be eagerly anticipating, is the vacant British heavyweight title fight between Fabio Wardley and Nathan Gorman. I'm delighted to say that Nathan joins me now. First of all, Nathan, thanks for your time. I know it's close to a fight. You come face to face with Fabio at there, and you've chatted to him. I mean, you're not swapping stupid insults and throwing tables. What do you make of Fabio Wardley? Because he's not a guy who's come through traditional circles. He came through that white collar circuit, that alternative circuit. You know, whereas you came through traditional, old school, the normal route.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, he's come through obviously the white collar background. Myself personally, I had the amateur experience with the Great Britain squad and winning the ABAs. So I think he's done very well to get where he is at this present moment. That's an achievement by itself to box for a British title with no experience behind him. But
that's a good point.
I think that will prevail on the Saturday night.
Now, what you've got grade, but you've also got some things to prove.
Yeah.
You know, and you haven't had a great couple of years since the Dubois fight, and no one's had a great couple of years because of COVID and stuff. So and you're still only a baby. You're young. You're actually younger than Fabio. There was an awful lot at stake for you on Saturday night at Wembley.
Yeah, definitely. It's all on the line for me. I'm 26 years of age, my second crack now at the British title. So a win here now put me in good stead for some big domestic fights, and that's what I want.
And what a division it is. I mean, there's half a dozen fights out there before you look at, Tyson Fury, before you look at Anthony Joshua. There's at least half a dozen. There's probably even 8 or 9 good fights out there in and around where you are.
Yeah, it's the best it's ever been.
It is.
Domestically, not just worldwide, domestically. Look at the fight shit, what can be made. So I win this British title Saturday night, and we can make them, can't we?
Now, listen, I didn't plan this, but I've got Fabio next. You don't
Of
mind.
course not. Of course you didn't.
I'm never sure with
pure
this.
happenstance.
So Nathan, I've got Fabio. Fabio, we were just talking about you. We're just saying, Nathan was saying, I didn't put words in his mouth. He was saying that the fact that you've come from the background you come from to actually be in a British title fight is an amazing achievement.
Yeah, of course, it's something I'm proud of, but my journey doesn't stop there. That's not where I'm just going to get to this point and sit down and look back and put my feet up and go, oh, look at me, I've done all right here. That's not the plan here. The plan is to get that and keep moving, like I did with the English title. I ticked that off and kept moving. It's the exact same thing here.
Did you really think a couple of years ago that even though you were just starting to get some good wins, did you think you'd be in a situation where you'd be on a major bill, in a cracking fight, a real fight that's getting people excited, fighting for the British title, Fab? I mean, there's dreaming and there's dreaming. And again, this is not a slight on your background. It's just it is an achievement.
Yeah, of course, it was a massive thing for me. And when I first started out, I didn't know what level I'd get to. I didn't know if I'd reach shows like this or a title like this, but it's one of those things that once I've got a taste for it, now I want the whole meal. Now I want everything. Now I want the British title, the European, the Commonwealth, the world titles. I want it all. So now I've had my little taste. There's no stopping me.
Now, it's interesting with you two. I mean, it's very rare that I get 2 boxers together this close to a fight, and you should be commended for that, and I'm delighted. But does there come a point where you just want to get away from him and get on with it, Fab? You just want to get away from him and get on it. And it's not a case of you want to throw tables and start throwing insults. It's just that you've seen him enough now. You've been on the top table with him. You've done head-to-head. You've done a bit of the zone stuff. I've had you for 6 or 7 minutes. Are you ready now that it's just time to stop standing next to Nathan Gorman and talking and get in the ring with Nathan Gorman, and you get in the ring with Fabio and start fighting? You answer first.
Yeah, of course. These things are formalities. You got to do them. You got to do the press conference, the weigh-in, the workout, whatever. But ultimately, as soon as I arrive on fight week, I'm like, cool. Can I just get in the ring now? I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to get in. So, when it comes now and we have to do these little bits, it's whatever. But I'm more than ready just to step over at any minute.
Would you prefer it if you disliked him, Nathan?
No, I think regardless, I've got that switch where when I get in the ring, I can flip that switch, you know what I mean? I got a job to do. It's my job to do what I got to do Saturday. We ain't got to sell this fight, you know what I mean? It sells itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The British public, I think it shines over the main event, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think everyone will agree.
I couldn't possibly comment, but I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure. Fab, thanks for your time. No, thanks for your time. Fellas, I really appreciate getting you together. And I swear to you, it wasn't a plan, all right?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Cheers,
a plan.
Bugsy. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, boys. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Steve, no worries, mate.
Thanks, Fab. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got to be absolutely honest with you. That sort of thing doesn't happen. I'm trying to think if I've ever got 2 fighters in a title fight together 48 hours before the first bell. And I don't think I have. I'm going to keep my eyes open now, so I'm trying to find 1 or 2 other fighters from the undercard. I'm walking back into the crowd. Let's just have a look over here. So I've had to walk outside, and I'm on the staircase here at the British Architects Institution, and it's just the most amazing windows and columns and beams. And as Paddy, the producer, pointed out, what do you expect? It's not going to be put together furniture, is it, in a flat pack? And I'm joined by Chevron Clark, a friend of the show. He's been ringside with us, and him and I went to the Haringey Box Cup earlier this year. Chev, it's the end of a year, another year, and a learning year. And I get the feeling that you get through this fight on Saturday, and next year they might start moving you a little bit, because you've got that pedigree on your side and you've got the age on your side. You know, you're not a 22-year-old kid who had 5 or 6 amateur contests. You're a seasoned man, and I get the idea that you'd like to be moved a little bit as well.
First of all, thank you guys for having me on the show again.
It's always a pleasure.
It's been a good year.
Yeah.
And we're at the
It's
end
been
of
a
the
good
year. Yeah, we've been at the end of the we're at the end of the year now. We've had 4 fights. Well, it's going to be my 4th fight. But going into next year, me, I'm easygoing. So they pick the...
As long as you're learning.
Exactly, as long as I'm learning. Eddie picks them and I lick them. You know, that's all that matters. And I fought some good people. Like people, their records speak for themselves. So
No, you've not had 4 knockovers.
No.
And I mean that nicely, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you don't need 4 knockovers. You need to be slightly, just little test each time, just a little bit more of a test each time.
yes, most definitely. We don't want an easy road, you know, because in the end you get found out. We've seen it over and over again. So we're going at a pace that is suitable and that will help me to learn, and so I can go on and dominate.
Now, the British cruiserweights, Lawrence Okoli's obviously at the top, a guy that, you know, that you've probably been around there, or you might not have crossed a lot of the GB squad, but, you know, a GB guy, Olympian, like yourself, but he was in Rio. There's an awful lot of other British cruiserweights. There's about 8 or 9 of you, and maybe 1 or 2 of them are above you, and the other 3 or 4 are about your level. There's some really good fights to be made over the next 18 months with that group, that recycled group of cruiserweights. And I like, that's competition. That's what I like.
Yeah, of course. As I said, the whole point of being here is to fight the best and be the best. I want to be remembered as one of those guys. Oh, do you remember that Chev Clark fight when he fought so-and-so? Kind of like how people remember Eubank and Ben.
We were famous, of course, for fighting each other and other Brits.
Exactly.
People forget that.
Exactly.
That's Brit v Brit. We loved that stuff.
Exactly. So that's what I want to be. I want to be remembered in that kind of light. And then obviously go on and push on and fight for world titles and world honours and be remembered for that as well.
The main event here, Dillian Whyte, is in the type of fight that it just seems to always happen to heavyweights. It's that fight where he has to win. It's an absolute must-win situation. After his long career, he's in a fight where if he were to lose again to Franklin, so be the second defeat of the year, it's a really brutal and hard fight, this top of the bill. Does it make you look at the business and think, you know what, this business I'm in, which I'm having fun, I'm always smiling, I'm Chev Clark, I'm always smiling, everyone loves me. It's a tough old game, Chev. It's a tough old game. Dylan's an example of that.
I don't know if everybody loves me, but you're right.
I do, we love it.
It's a brilliant fight, and you know, this guy's not very well known, but he's got a good record, so Dylan's got to be careful. I believe that Dylan will do it.
So do I.
And it's, you know, I don't look at the game and think, oh, it's, you know, I just see it as for what it is. It's a business, and I've got to go out there and do what I do and look good doing it.
And finally, are you and Joshua Barazzi still riding like 200 miles a day on bikes that you stole from the GB squad? You've not returned them. There's a warrant for your arrest in Sheffield for the bikes you and him have nicked. Okay, you once boxed for GB, but that doesn't mean you could have 500-pound bikes. They were given to you for 2 weeks back in 2020. You've stolen them. I'm just putting it to you. Don't get upset. Don't start laughing. I put it to you, Chevron Clark, that you owe the GB boxing system a 500-pound, 11 gear German bike.
Whoa. I would like to interrupt.
Go on then.
They are on the way back on the delivery truck.
For the last 2 years?
Mate.
What's pulling it, a donkey?
I put it on the delivery. I don't know where the delivery went.
And it just so happens you know a bit about that, because that was your old game, delivery truck driver, wasn't it, there?
Exactly. It can get complicated in the warehouses. Things get lost.
Get lost, Chev. You and Barazzi have nicked the bikes. Just admit, on the BBC, you and Joshua Barazzi have nicked the GB bikes and they're never going back.
Look at me. Do you think Boazzi would do that? Boazzi is a God-fearing man.
No, he sent his back. yeah. Sorry, no, think about it.
He's a God-fearing man.
Yeah,
and me, I'm a model citizen.
No, you know what? Yeah, so the shorthand behind that is Barazzi sent his bike back, and Chevron Clark hasn't. Chev, it's a delight talking to you. See you Saturday night.
Thank you very much.
Chevron Clark there, and just to say that we will be contacting GB Cycling to find out about the whereabouts of the bikes. And I think Chev gave it away. It's obviously obvious that Barazzi has sent his back and that Chev is still riding his around the green hills of Kent. That's for a discussion on another night. Now, Saturday's boxing at Wembley is obviously big. Vacant British title fight, as Eddie was really excited about, and Dillian Whyte coming back in a fight that he has to win, and it's a major fight, and there's an awful lot at stake. But across London, in that funny part of South London that's really in East London, it's just separated by the Thames, at the O2, there were 3 Commonwealth title fights. but they're not the main attractions, and they're fairly good, all three of them. The main attraction there is, I think, one of the most intriguing fights of the year. It's for the vacant interim WBO super middleweight title. It'll be upgraded. The winner will become the full WBO super middleweight champion, and that's a title that lots of Brits have held over the years. And it involves unbeaten Zach Parker against John Ryder, a man who earlier this year on 5 Live beat Danny Jacobs, a really good American, in a great fight at the Ali Pali. And I grabbed hold of Zach. We're outdoors, actually, on a driving range by the Thames at the end of November in the driving rain. Hey, it was cold, it was brutal. So I kept it very simple with Zach and asked him through chattering teeth how his preparations had been.
Yeah, things good. Camp's done now. It's all about making that weight now, obviously. Only a couple of days away, so yeah. I'm feeling good, to be fair. Weight's pretty much there, so yeah. Just that last little bit.
How much do you know about Ryder, in the sense that, you know his fights, but have you ever seen him fight in the flesh, Zach?
No, obviously never seen him in the flesh, but I've seen a couple of his fights. It's obviously a good opponent. It's been in there with all the top guys. Better opposition what I've been in. So yeah, likes of Callum Smith, obviously Jacobs. He's had a few good wins there. So yeah, it's definitely my hardest fight to date.
Well, it's really interesting you should say that, because there's some people who seem to have this idea that he's an old man and he's finished and he's in it for the payday, and I don't agree with that. I agree with you. I think his fights have been good. He's lost some, he's won some, he's proved himself, and he's not an old man. He's still got ambition, like you've got ambition.
Yeah, definitely. Like he said in the press conference that this is his last chance. So I'm waiting for the best for John Ryder. He beat Danny Jacobs in his last fight, which has been in there with all the best. Golovkin, Canelo, he's been in there with all of them. So yeah, I'm looking for a really hard fight, and definitely ain't over the hill.
Now, one of the problems with John Ryder, and one of the problems with you really, Zach, is you're both nice guys. Yeah. So you can get a little bit edgy as you get close to the weight, but you can't fall out with John Ryder, and John Ryder can't fall out with Zach Parker. Do you prefer it, or would you like it if there was an opponent who you really didn't like? You know what I mean by that.
Yeah. Obviously, get your blood boiling. If someone like Chris Eubank or obviously the Andre fight would have been a really good fight.
Perfect.
Yeah, because he'd come at me, and then you need a dancing partner in these sort of situations. But obviously, we're both nice guys, and we just want to fight and want to make a bit of money for us also. Yeah. No matter if it ain't no bad blood, but it's going to be a good fight because we're both going to come and bring it.
Hey, listen, most fights don't have all that ridiculous bad blood anyway. Most of that's fabricated. What you've got is you've both got something really genuine to go for the other side of it, especially you as you're a new father.
Yeah, that's it. New father, something else to fight for. It's mad to be fair, being a dad, and it's amazing. It gives you that extra push, and obviously I want to provide for my little daughter for the future, and hopefully we can do that.
Now, on the subject of dads, I was a dad a few years ago. What are you doing sleep-wise? Have you moved out of the house? You moved in with your mum and dad, or you moved to the back of the house? What are you doing? Because otherwise, I mean, no disrespect, you're doing every 2.5 hours. Even if you're not changing nappies, you're awake.
That's it. Yeah, I was obviously Mrs. has been doing all the night shifts and that. I've been sleeping in another room. I got a mattress put on the floor and that. So yeah, she's been a godsend, to be fair. My missus has, and been really good. Obviously doing all the night shifts, and I'm sure that she'll be tossing the baby straight over to me after the fight.
So it's almost like you've set up a training camp in your house. So you sleeping on the floor, no luxuries of home really, apart from the fact you are at home.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm secluded in my own room at the minute, but yeah, after the fight, I'm sure she'll be tossing that baby straight over me, and I'll be doing all the night shifts and nappies and whatnot. I'm sure I'll be busy.
It's been a frustrating year, obviously, with the fight in Derby collapsing, and then the whole thing with Andre not happening. So I'm sensing it'll just be a relief to get this fight over and end 2022 and move on.
That's it. We'll end it on a big note. Obviously, big fight with John Ryder. This last year obviously been frustrating. 2 fights meant to be with Andre, but everything happens for a reason, and we're here now. O2. I've never even boxed O2. Now headline. It's amazing, and yeah, it's what dreams made of, and obviously can't thank Frank and obviously all my team enough, Neil and BCB.
And just quickly, over to our left we got the Thames and we got the city over there, that's Canary Wharf. Then over to our right, not 150 metres away, there's the O2, and it does feel real now, doesn't it? This is it now. You're no longer in the Midlands. You're no longer in the East Midlands. You're no longer just coming to press conferences. You're looking at the venue where you're going to walk out on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's it. I can tell it's getting close by my weight.
I can tell from your face, yeah.
My weight, obviously, when you're starting to get down the weight, you know it's time to rock and roll. So yeah, obviously now seeing the venue and that, it's going to be an amazing night for me, and I'm sure I'll get the victory on fight night.
I'm sure you will. Thanks very much, Zach. Zach Parker there talking to me on a driving range by the Thames, by the O2, on a very cold morning. I like Zach Parker. He's ready to fight. He's ready to be tested. He's probably been ready for a couple of years. He's got the opportunity now. And it's a brilliant fight against Ryder, a man that so many people seem to feel is past it. Well, that's absolutely rubbish. He's only a couple of years older than Parker. And earlier this year, as I said, he beat Danny Jacobs. He wasn't meant to beat Danny Jacobs. It was a brilliant fight. Went the full distance. Ryder correctly got the decision. I called up with Ryder, who was wearing far more sensible kit. Zach Parker had on a Derby County tracksuit, and John Ryder looked like he was off to Antarctica in a canoe. That's how well equipped he was. And I started by asking John about the misleading storyline, the narrative, as people like to say, surrounding this fight, suggesting that he's more than ready for his pipe and his slippers.
I'm coming off a career best win. I've trained hard, I've trained meticulous, I've put in great numbers in this camp, and I'm not. Listen, I'm probably coming towards the end of my career, but listen, I'm fully focused on this, and I'm there to do a job on Saturday.
It's been some career, isn't it, when you look back on it? I mean, it has been it has been a career, and it just seems to go on and on. When you have a good look at your record, you might not do that, I do, and you think, wow, that was so long ago. Then that one, then that one, then that one. There's like 10, 12 big fights in there.
Yeah, well, when you look back, Billy Joe was, 2013.
9 years ago.
9 years ago. There's been big fights ever since, so, I mean, listen, I've had down times in that period and times of rebuilding, but I've been in big fights throughout. So I mean, from 2018 onwards, they've been massive fights, title fights, and it's been a good career so far. And I'm looking to top it off on Saturday night with a great win for an interim title, and that can stand me in good stead moving forward.
And still big fights to come.
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, listen, age, it's the old thing, age is nothing but a number, but listen, I'm 34 in age. I don't feel 34. I mean,
still feel fresh?
I still feel fresh. I'm still laying up with the younger ones in the gym, still pushing them hard, so I still feel like I've got a lot to give still.
And Zach Parker's a good fighter, though. He's a good fighter. He's a kid that's promised a lot over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's done everything that's asked of him. People say he's knocked out this person, yeah, and you know what? It's not easy to knock out these people. They're there to survive. They're there to survive and last, and they want to go on and fight again soon. So them getting stopped is not in their agenda. So listen, it's not easy to stop these. They're not just plums. They're there to win and there to do well. But he's got them out of there, and he's got through them. So he's a good fighter. But I'm better.
Yeah, John, do you still get excited by a fight, or don't you get excited by a fight? Is it just purely work, or is there a little bit in you that's like you're looking over at the O2 just off to our right, and you're sort of going, yeah, I'm looking for it now. I'm nearly there. It's a couple of days to go. Is there a part of you that still does that, John?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's early in my career. I dreamt about fighting at the O2 and these
on the big bill, top of the bill.
Yeah, top of the bill, and I've been on big bills at the O2, but I think it's my first time topping, so this is a great opportunity for me Saturday night. The O2 always throws up a good show, and it's becoming a fan favourite.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's been an odd year for British boxing. So many fights not happened, so many fighters waiting. You'd be fortunate to end the year having been involved in 2 big fights. You're quite lucky in some ways compared to other boxers, because it's been. I'm not going to ask you various questions. You don't worry. I'm not going to go down that route. But it's been a strange old year for British boxing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously on the back end of COVID. It's been I think we all thought we'd get off to a flying start, and I did get off to a flying start with a Jacobs win. But then it was a slow period in the summer when I suppose everyone's playing catch up. All the fighters that have not been so active during lockdown are trying to get their fights in, and I was lucky enough that I got 2 fights in through lockdown, so I wasn't probably at the top of the list, but I mean, a great win against Jacobs, and listen, it's all about finishing strong at the end of the year with a great win against Zach Parker come Saturday.
Right, so it's good. I'm delighted to know that you're not quite getting measured for your slippers and your pipe yet, son.
No, I mean, I'm still a pair of pants to bed man. I'm no pipe and slippers, no dressing gown. I'm a last minute, chuck my clothes off, put them in a washing basket if I feel like it, and if not, I'll pick up in the morning when the missus gives me the evils.
You know what, there's some gruesome images there, thanks for sharing.
No, that way I'm ripped to shreds. It's a good image at the moment.
So that was me with John Ryder and Zach Parker on a driving range in the shadow of the O2 on a curve in the Thames with Docklands off to my left. It was brilliant actually, because throughout the interview, the skies and clouds shifted, and it was a brilliant blue sky with sunshine when it was all over. It's a mad weekend. There's boxing on Channel 5 on Friday night. There's a DAZN show and a BT show on Saturday. And then on Sunday night, Adam Azim fights on a Boxer Sky show. We've never had a weekend like it. I said that in the pod earlier this week, and we never have had a weekend like it. Dillian Whyte is back. Dillian Whyte is the main attraction. Dillian Whyte is a genuine contender. One day he believes he'll become a champion. He'll have to get past Jermaine Franklin, and that's a test which could turn into a trial. The chief support there is a brilliant British heavyweight title fight. I really fancy this fight. Nathan Gorman against Fabio Wardley. Thanks to all four of those people for talking to me today. Thanks to John Ryder, of course, and thanks to Zach Parker. What a weekend it's going to be. And I've got to add, there's a special fight taking place in Dubai, a fight that's gone monumentally under the radar. Jamie Mitchell, who won the title by beating Shannon Courtney, it's in defence of a WBA bantamweight title, and she's fighting Nina Hughes. Nina Hughes only had 4 fights. She's 40 years of age, but she's a GB veteran. So that Hughes and Mitchell in Dubai. I've got to mention it. It's a world title fight involving a Brit. That's the way it works. That's the way I work. We'll be back with a look back at this ridiculous weekend. What a time to be a boxing fan. What a time to be in the boxing business. Thanks for listening. This has been Steve Bunce, and this has been 5 Live Boxing.
Let's get ready to rumble!
5 Live Boxing.